Hi. Hi, Claire.
Hi.
How are you all doing?
Uh, can't complain. Feeling good
Yeah,
today.
I know there's
Happy
a
to
lot going on.
happy to be here.
Thank you for being here. So let's get to it. Um, I want you all to talk about your brands and what you do, but where the conversation is called The Leap. Everyone is here to try and figure out how they can transition into full-time entrepreneurship. Some of them are already entrepreneurs and they're juggling their 9 to 5 and they want to get to that space where they can just focus all of their energy on their own business. So I want to start with your leap moment. And this is that moment where, you knew that you just had to go into this journey. You had to make the leap. I want to know how you felt, what you observed, like everything that brought you to that space where you were like, okay, I'm taking the leap. So we'll start with you, Claire. What was your leap moment?
Yeah, sure. So my leap moment, it culminated because I couldn't stop thinking about my thing. I think as entrepreneurs, we're always like we're big ideas people, but it kept bugging me. It's like an itch I had to scratch sort of thing, and it's like, I got to do this. I just got to like make the leap. And I was actually tired of being where I was 6 months prior. Like I already had this idea and I felt like I wasn't really moving forward with it, And so I was just kind of like tired and like I needed to just do it.
Yeah, no, I get that feeling. And it's just like you have that voice in your head saying, okay, it's time. And you have to listen to that. So that's great. What about you, Keenan?
Yeah, mine came. I think I was just so frustrated and bored working for somebody else, and just frankly couldn't take that anymore. And my desire to just take a risk, and frankly feel the pressure, was just burning inside of me. I think the other thing was, I was a marketer for, billion-dollar brands. And even though I was at a senior level, you couldn't really give me the attribution to the success, right? So, those brands exist because of amazing models. And I wanted to see what I was capable of. I wanted to see what I could do. And I walked in one day and just said, I quit. And it was actually right after I had led the national sales meeting with about 300 folks that were working with me. I came in the following Monday after that and just said, hey guys, this is my last day.
Oh, wow. That's tough because it's like when you reach that level of success and then you just say, I'm not doing it anymore. That's pretty hard. That's a tough decision to make. What were you doing, Claire, before you went and made the leap?
Yeah, I wanted to add something what Keenan said as he was talking. I remember this quote that says, if you don't build your dream, someone else will hire you to build theirs. So what he was, what Keenan's saying, like he's working for these multi-million-dollar brands, but he's helping them with their goals, and it sounded like he had something he needed to stir up. So my husband and I actually had a law firm. So I hear you where I had that solid paycheck. And so that was like my corporate 9 to 5. But again, so I took the leap without knowing if I'm going to make any money, really, right? And I think that's what we had to, a lot of people do. But yeah, so we had a law firm which we no longer have.
Yeah, you touched on something very interesting, and we all can agree that taking that leap takes some risk. And for each of you, like the risk is different. It could be something that's financial, making that change when you have that financial security. It's a risk not knowing when your next paycheck is coming in or how much money you're going to make. Or it could be, a reputation. Your reputation is on the line. You're exposed now. Now it's more about you and what you're creating. And an artist likes to say, I'm sensitive about my stuff. Creatives are sensitive. So it's like now it's you're out there, you're exposed. So the risk comes in many different forms. What I'm curious to know is, have you ever decided going back?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it first, I guess, Claire. I did. I think, it was very early on. We set some financial metrics for ourselves. I had a co-founder at the time. So, we kind of looked at ourselves and said, hey, we're going to give ourselves about a year to supplement our income that we were making. And very quickly you realize that you weren't on pace for that. And I actually got a really cool job offer. I'll say it was Anheuser-Busch offered me a SVP role over I think it was Stella Artois and some stuff like that. So anyway, I'm a beer drinker, so that's like a really cool job, right? And I was considering it. I was getting ready to go in, and I called my dad, and he gave me something that just always stuck with me. And he said, if you're going to be an entrepreneur and you want to do this, you need to make sure you're hungry. And he said, make sure you remove all options, right? All sense of comfort. And I think it was something that I realized that, as long as I would even entertain something like this, I wasn't truly an entrepreneur. And so that was the last time I've ever entertained a job. And that was in my first year.
Oh, wow. Your first year.
Yep.
What about you, Claire?
Yeah, cut that cord, huh?
That is like rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
That can be very intimidating for many.
Right, yeah.
But I love that quote. Go ahead.
I totally do too. So for me, we did. We were both, so both my husband and I both have our own startups in a way. And so we kind of had to go back for a little bit and consult, and we still had a few cases. But that feeling though, when I was like, oh, I got to go back to that, when I was so excited about my actual startup, my brand, So even though when we did have to go back for a little bit, it was affirmation that what I was really doing with Madison Grace, the business, was important to me, is because I was tired of the other stuff.
Yeah, no, that is very important. And I kind of want to go back a little bit. When we talked about our leap moment, and you mentioned, you made the leap and then you had to go back. And you talked about kind of the things that you were feeling and what you were experiencing. What do you think, and this question's for you, Claire, what do you think held you back from doing it sooner?
So I actually think it was perfection. So I actually thought I was procrastinating, and then I realized I was procrastinating because I wanted things to be perfect. And then I really had to, I think as entrepreneurs, self-awareness is really huge. I realized I was hiding. I was hiding. I didn't want people to judge me, or in a way, and I didn't want it to be my thing failed, but telling you guys right now, you will fail at something. You will be judged. You might as well just do it, But I really I really felt that way. So you kind of have to think about the inside, whatchamacallit. Yeah, self-awareness is really big, I feel like.
How do you overcome that?
This is very interesting. So I feel like as entrepreneurs, we should embrace curiosity. So when I actually embraced being curious, it's more of an experiment. And it helped me. I'm big on hacking things, right? I think we all are, saving time. And the brain is, I don't know how many years old, but we have to, it's fight or flight, right? And so when you go into something, your brain actually, when you go into something new, and if you're fearful, your brain's oh, I don't want to be judged. And so you revert back, right? But then when you embrace the curiosity of it and experimenting it reframes the whole thing. And now you're when you do fail, it's an experiment, oh, how do I do it differently? So the fear of failure and failing changes it, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. So it's about perception.
Yeah, mindset for sure is huge for me, at least in my experience.
Yeah. Did you want to add on that, Keenan?
No, I think, we all have to find our ways of tricking ourselves into confidence as an entrepreneur. Everyone carries these insecurities with themselves. And I think being an entrepreneur exposes a lot of that because, our entire lives, we basically do well or are rewarded for doing what we're told. You're a good child if you listen to your parents and you do what you're told. You do what your teachers tell you to do. You become a good student, right? You do your homework. You work at a job. You do exactly what your boss tells you and you follow your work plan. And then you kind of become an entrepreneur and there's no one to tell you. And so there's a moment where you're a little lost and you have to find your confidence to realize that you're listening to yourself and your own intuition and your gut. And it's something that we all have to train ourselves on regularly because we have to break that chain of dependency. And it's hard. It's extremely hard. And I think we all go through it daily. So whatever you have to, exercise you go through, you'll find that way. And I don't think any two entrepreneurs are the same. But yeah, I think that the sooner you start to embrace the fact that you will fail and you start to look forward to that because you're then learning so much quicker and then you can make the adjustments and apply it. So I find myself trying to hurry up and fail. Like I actually want to put myself out there even more to mess up so that I can get better faster.
I love that.
It's all a learning and growing opportunity. So when you say sometimes you have to trick yourself and you have to kind of get used to failing and constantly putting yourself out there, what are some techniques, knowing that no entrepreneur is the same, every entrepreneur is different, everybody has their own process. What are some of the techniques that you used, Keenan, in order to break that cycle?
I actually try not to overthink things. So I have a real bias towards action. And I think anyone who has worked for me or is working with me currently will say that. I focus on activities and action. And that kind of stops me from thinking because the pressure to do and to just put something out and get it done supersedes that doubt. So that's probably my number one technique. And I'd say secondly, I don't talk to a lot of people early on. Mm-hmm. I actually will take an action first, and then I'll talk to them to get feedback rather than to sow the seeds of doubt. Because I think sometimes we have these conversations with folks about an idea, and people will talk you out of it, where I'm actually looking for them to give me to really play a role of what we call edit and amplify, because I'm going to do it anyway. So I really just want your thoughts and your perspective on how I can do it better, not to talk me out of it.
I like that, limiting the opportunity to sow the seeds of doubt. I like that. What about you, Claire?
Yeah, I kind of want to add what Keenan says is that with action, you can't really pivot a parked car, right? So when you're moving, when you're actually doing the thing, then you could be like, oh, you know what? My audience is actually, it's not B2C, it's B2B, but you can't do that unless you're actually moving. You're actually doing something, and then I just totally resonate with what Keenan's saying is that the times that I did do something is when I found clarity or found found customers, tell you honestly, right? So yeah, definitely action for sure. Messy action, imperfect action, whatever you want to call it.
That's it.
That is awesome. If anybody in the audience have questions, please don't hesitate to add them into the chat. But while we wait for the audience's questions, I would like to know, what did you start with? You both have different journeys, both different entrepreneurial journeys. Every entrepreneur is different, their path is different, but you have to start with something. What did you start with? What did you have? Did you have the financial security and you were able to, lean on that? Did you just go from an idea and did you have access to funding? Because as we know, especially for minorities, access to funding can be pretty challenging. So what did you have? How did you use it to get started? Because a lot of people might have an idea and they're like, okay, where do I start? And how do I get started?
So I could go first if you want, Keenan. Yeah, so I actually used some of my savings. We knew that we were going to do this thing, so we used some of it. But at the same time, we replacing our income from our corporate job was scary because your savings can only take you so far, right? So I'm a first generation immigrant American. So like corporate job is like the way that you're raised to have, like they want security. You're raised for security. So anyways, I guess that's part of the whole like leap thing again, bringing that back. But yeah, so for me, it was just savings. And then we both just started generating revenue. Like, so Mass and Grace, yes, we did. But it took a while till really that we haven't even yet matched our corporate income. But I'm still here. I'm okay.
Yeah.
I think I followed a similar journey to a lot of entrepreneurs, especially minorities. I went into services first, and I think a lot of people, when they say they were going to become an entrepreneur, they typically go into consulting or something of that form where they are doing what they did as a job, but kind of as a freelancer. And I actually really love that model because, one, you're not dependent on raising capital, but you start to learn the principles of just hand-to-hand combat. And I always feel like an entrepreneur should embrace discomfort and never be afraid to really roll up their sleeves and fight. And there's no more difficult fight than kind of as a freelancer and constantly having to sell and hustle. And so that was my journey for probably the first 3 years before we started to look at raising capital, and kind of pivoting the business into a more scalable enterprise. But I will say, I mean, the main thing that I did first was to really process what my equity was. Like, what was my own personal reputation, and think of ways to monetize that. And so when you really look at my journey and why I started an agency, while I was running big brands, I knew a lot of people that were also running big brands. So I started consulting for big brands, right, as a freelancer. So I realized, okay, I have this personal equity and value, and I have a reputation. Let me put that into a pitch deck, sell that to get clients, then take those profits and reinvest into the future of the business. So I think a lot of us do that, especially I hear that a lot with lawyers, right? They go off and they leave a firm and then they freelance because there's a lot of legal work that's needed. You see that with marketers or creatives or advertisers, right? And so that was my journey until, I became profitable enough to then ask for enough capital to really raise and build something a little bit larger.
So how were you able to, and this goes for both of you because customers are important, and realizing that you have something that's valuable, that especially when there's a demand and someone is in need of your service or product, how did you go about building your network, building and getting that exposure? I know, Keenan, you said that you used, what you had, which is great. You already had this reputation. You already had these connections. What did you do to get them to see you as that source instead of going to that big business?
I think like a typical marketer, right? I focus on, they say that now, that unique selling proposition, but to say more in layman's terms, what makes you different is what makes you great. So I focus on my points of difference in the marketplace. So, I was a 29, 30-year-old vice president of marketing. My peers were 40 plus. So I had a youth factor. So I leaned heavily into, hey, I'm younger, but I can still speak your language, but I'm going to bring you perspective of a group that you don't relate to. And so that differentiation is critical for every entrepreneur, because your points of differentiation build your confidence, because it's really hard for people to challenge something that is so different and unique. And that just started to build my confidence. So that was my tactic.
Claire, what about?
Yeah. So kind of with what Keenan's saying, so like confused customers don't buy. So confused clients don't buy. So for me, I really needed to hone down on like what I offer on the marketplace. And I know we're all in this together, but after COVID, a lot of my products were like in person and in conferences and whatnot. But after COVID, I had to like figure out where my customers are hanging out. So really, who's your target customer and where are they hanging out? And then they could be in different Facebook groups, or, you know, they're reading some type of online magazine and finding them that way. And I went on a deep dive because I was like, okay, revenue just halted for me, right? And then so I got to figure out, I mean, obviously an email list is important. I had my email list, and e-commerce was still going because everyone was at home. But again, it's that pivoting thing. I had to pivot more. Instead of my jewelry and bags, I had to focus more on my home stuff. But I started finding collaborators, as like, you know, we're collaborating right now. Our audiences are all seeing each other that we've never, like maybe Keenan's audience first time seeing me, you know, and vice versa. So I think collaboration's really big, especially now. Everyone's so open to it.
Yeah.
Were you going to add to that?
No, I think that's a great point. I mean, you know, your ability to network, and again, put yourself out there, because that's intimidating and scary as well. But you definitely need to find ways to add value in your prospective clients' world. So you got to immerse yourself in that. So, you know, for me, I took probably for the first 6 years of my entrepreneurial, you know, career, I took every meeting. And it was almost psychotic, like burnt myself out, frankly, a bit, because I met with anyone who would take a meeting. And I mean, all day, every day, weekends, happy hours, it didn't matter. I did that. And what it allowed me to do was have so many conversations, and that was compounding the learning for me. So I was able to just take in so much feedback, and it quickly allowed me to understand how to pivot conversations and steer things, and to make sure I could insert my business in a way that was a value add. And it just started to become very organic. And it was just from putting yourself out there and learning for years.
Yeah, putting yourself out there is very important. I wanted to get to the questions before we can keep talking before we run out of time. But the first question is, before making the leap, how did you plan for your transition? This is important. It's a multi-part question, so I'll let you answer that part first.
Well, I didn't plan. So I mean, I wrote, you know, I write business models for fun, and I've done that for a long time. But it got to the point where I had so many business models, I just needed to do something. Mm-hmm. So like I said, when I went in and quit, it was very impulsive. It was, I can't take this anymore, and I'm going to figure it out. And so,
did something happen? Was it a toxic work environment? Was it just like, I have to do something for myself? Like, I'm tired of, you know.
I was tired of the monotony of corporate and what it was. And I felt that I could build more value by owning something and being on my own. And so when I looked at what the success was on the path that I was on, it didn't seem attractive for me. So once I got enough exposure to that, and you know, for me, it was once I got to that kind of vice president level and saw that executive team, I just knew it wasn't for me. So every day after that seemed like a waste of time, and time is just so precious. So yeah. I literally said I had to figure it out. And that's that's what I did.
So I'm nodding because I resonate with Keenan because I just was like, I can't do this anymore. But I guess, like I mentioned already, I saved a little bit. And for me, I have a product-based business and also my consulting, which is still in the same industry. So yeah, I needed some money to get capital for the products. But yeah, same thing. I was just like, I gotta just do this.
Yeah. So it was, did you know that you already identified, you said, I'm starting a business. I'm going to start taking a few, like a percentage from my check and just start saving up to build?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then, you know, like, I guess it's different for each person. For us, it was just like 6 months. We wanted like 6 months of like, you know, savings of before we took the leap. But that was just me personally. I have a family, and so again, it's just different for each person. But to tell you honestly, like, I feel like I couldn't taken that leap 6 months prior. Like, I wish I kind of did, you know. I didn't need that pillow, to tell you honestly, because it just I wasted time, because there was like, you still have to like figure things out, that whole like action thing, you know. So really, I don't even know if you need that.
Yeah. The next part of the question was, what would your advice be to a new entrepreneur who wants to create their own business or brand?
I'll take that one first. I think you have to want that more than you love the security of what you're doing. And I think that's the sticky point for a lot of entrepreneurs. They may not love their corporate jobs or what they're doing, but they love what it affords them, right? They love the lifestyle and the comfort. And you have to be willing to throw that away because you love the vision of this new thing that you're going to then create and own. And I think until you get to that point, you'll never truly take the leap.
That's deep. But do you have advice?
Yeah, that's good. I would actually, I'm going to double down to my curiosity thing. So kind of just embrace that and get curious on like what you're doing, and then like more of experimenting really. But yeah, just imagine yourself like 6 months from now. Or do you really like want to be in the same spot? You know, I would say that.
No, I hear you. I think for someone who is trying to create their own business, it's, for me at least, it's a lot about passion and purpose. And so in like marrying each of what you all said, I think that all kind of goes into how you go about, and what that factors into the what and the how. The next question we have is, you hear about entrepreneurs having a passion for their work. Is that something that you each have? And where does that come from?
I guess I'll take that one first. So I have an intense passion for problem solving that is only equally matched by my passion for people. So the companies are usually just a byproduct of that. And so that's why, you know, I think I continue to create and build companies, but they're usually off of those two things, right? There's a problem that needs to be solved, and I deal in things that are people-based. So I build consumer product companies, right, or things like nonprofits, but because there's an end user. And so the love of that person, and typically the problem that they have, is what just drives me on a daily basis. And the amazing thing is people are really complex, and there's a lot of problems. So we need a lot more entrepreneurs. And I wish we had a lot more time in the day to try to solve things. But yeah, that's probably where my passion comes from.
Love it. Yeah, so my passion and purpose is definitely, it's intertwined with my boutique. So I am really into the social impact space, a social impact business, meaning you use your business as a force for good. So I'm in the ethical fashion space. My boutique, every product has a purpose and story, from our jewelry, which is made by survivors of human trafficking, to our bags that are made by artisans in marginalized communities. So my passion is really just like, if I don't sell, then these people that we gave dignified work to don't have that dignified work. So it's really like, there's definitely something at stake.
I told you she was driven. There goes that drive piece.
Yeah.
Keep moving it forward. Do we have any other questions? And while people are still typing in their questions, I wanted you each to talk a little bit about your business, what it is. You talked about your passion and your purpose. Where are you and how it fits into, and how your business fits into your passion and purpose. But what, and I know, Keenan, you have quite a few businesses. I want to just make sure that everybody is clear on what you guys do, what your business is, and all the many hats you wear.
Yeah, please, Claire.
Oh, yeah. So Madison Grace is the name of my brand. We're a boutique with purpose. Is that what we'd like to say? So we sell chic accessories for the modern woman who gives a care about people and planet. And I think I had mentioned some touch points about where our who makes our products. I'm holding my necklace because that's one of them. So it's not like I'm like nervous or anything. But yeah, so I like to say the three things we're really known for: we're ethically made, sustainably designed, and effortlessly chic. So gone are the days when ethical fashion was for the like minimalist, like high-end women, or the like nature-loving Patagonia woman. It's really just for the modern woman who wasn't being catered in the marketplace.
Love that. So Aaron, I guess I wear two hats. So on one hat, it is about workforce development, which is Venture Noir and this nonprofit that I was fortunate enough to work with you on this event. And that's really about building that pipeline of future entrepreneurs. I fundamentally believe that the wealth gap that exists between white America and Black America is unacceptable, and it continues to widen. And the fastest way to close that is through entrepreneurship and business creation, and leading to liquidity events such as an exit or going public. So, that's what Venture Noir is all about, and helping to facilitate that. The other hat I wear is on workforce creation. So that is, I created what's called a venture studio. So we invest and invent new consumer brands in the health and beauty space. Our first flagship product is called Sunday to Sunday. It launched on May 31st. It is primarily skewed as a textured hair care brand, which is focused on the active lifestyle of women. So it's hair care inspired by real life, which means, when women are really living life to the fullest, a lot of times they're sweating, they're moving, they're playing, they're having fun, they're dancing, they're intimate. And when you look at the beauty category, it's typically on stagnant moments. It's about not sweating, not messing those things up. So, we design products to actually work with real life. So how do you address sweat, and how do you embrace that? Because that actually is what's beautiful about life. The other business I have is called Cocoa Corp, and that's a CBD business, really all about sustainability and helping farmers that were down in Colombia. So we work with the Afro-Colombians, and have a land deal, actually the largest cannabis land deal in the world, of around 8 million hectares of land. And that is focused on building products and helping them stimulate their economy through agriculture, which is something that is the lifeblood of the world. I have another, skincare line coming out. I have a male grooming line coming out. So, we continuously do this and work with amazing founders such as you guys to bring those visions to life. And it's all about doing them in a repeatable, modular, scalable way.
See, we weren't playing when we said unstoppable.
We got to keep going. The gang keep going.
Yeah. Well, we're coming really close to time. I just want to get people familiar with the platform, but first I want to thank you both so much for spending the time to impart your knowledge on us and just share some of your advice and talk about your journey. This was very helpful, very inspiring. I saw James out there, said he's getting started today.
Do it, James. Do it, James.
Before we end, what are your next actionable steps for everyone? Okay, now go time. What do you do now? Homework.
I'll put myself out there. I mean, if you guys are curious about starting a company, if you're looking for the curriculum, if you're looking for the community to build that confidence, please reach out, join the Venture Noir movement, sign up for our newsletters, our workshops, continued events like this. Use us as a resource. It is free. We gave away, $31,000 in grants just last week. In non-dilutive capital, which is very important, everyone, right? So there's capital that comes with something, and then there's capital for goodness sake, and that's what we do. So that's non-dilutive capital, and it's just about love and community. So don't hesitate to use me. I'm always out there, so you can reach me at Keenan@venturenoir.org, and I'm here to help. Right, that's my passion.
Love it. I guess, for my advice, I think we've been saying it this whole time. Just start whatever, I don't know. Then you're saying the next action step, Erin. So that YouTube channel, just start it. that thing that you've been thinking about, just start it. Just take the first step, I should say. Create a YouTube account, something like that. Take the very first step. So good luck to everyone.
I love that word, create. Oh, my key. I wear it all the time.
Yes.
In the video.
Yeah.
From Lisa, she's in the chat. So
it's funny. One of our values is create the things you wish existed in the world. So, yeah.
Take the leap, y'all. Take the leap. Here we go.
The leap. Yes. Thank you. Yep. Take the leap. Well, thank you both so much.